Topic 5-1, Part 2, Graphing Proportional Relationships in Quadrant 1. A salesperson earns a 10% commission on sales of energy-efficient appliances. Draw a graph to model this situation. Is the amount of the commission proportional to the amount of sales? How do you know? So the first thing I want to do is make a table. That would be the first thing that I would want to do. So let's make a table about the commission earned. First thing I'm going to do is make a table. So in my table, we're going to talk about sales in money, and then the commission that is made, which is also money. Okay? Now, we were told that the salesperson earns 10% commission. The salesperson earns 10% commission. So, if we sell $100, what is the commission? Well, you're wanting to know what is 10% of $100. What is 10% of $100? Because that's what commission each salesman will make. So, change percent to decimal by moving your decimal 2 places to the left. I get 0.10. To go from percent to decimal, you have to move your decimal, which is behind the zero. Every number has a decimal. It's understood to be behind the last digit to the right if you don't see one. To go from percent to decimal, move it 2 places to the left. So I get 0.10. Of means to multiply times 100. So if you take your calculator and you multiply 0.10 times 100, you get $10. You get $10. So 10% of 100 is $10. So in my chart, I'll go back and put 10. So we have a sales of $200. What is 10% of 200? So I would change percent to decimal by moving my decimal 2 places to the left. I have 0.10 times 200. Well, again, if you punch in your calculator, 0.10 times 200, you get 20. So filling in my chart, I would have 20. So let's take 300. What's 10% of 300? So changing that 10% to a decimal, that's 0.10 times 300. If you punch that in your calculator, you will get 30. And let's do one more ordered pair for our chart. 400. Let's do 400. What is 10% of 400? So 0.10 times 400 gives you 40. So we have filled out a table of values to graph because we were told that each salesperson earns 10% commission on the sales. So, if we were to draw this graph, if I draw a graph, I'm just going to kind of freehand this one. I'm going to let the horizontal axis represent sales, and I'm going to let the vertical axis represent commission. Now, sales is 100, 200, 300, 400, so forth on. So each little marking needs to represent 100. And we can make this chart as big as we want. The commission, we have 10, 20, 30, 40. So I'm going to let it be represented by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, and so forth on. Now again, it does go through the origin, because going back to our table, if we don't sell anything, if we have 0 sales, we're going to have 0 commission. So 0, 0, the origin is a point on my graph. So if the salesman sells 100, he gets $10 commission. If the sales are 200, $20 commission. 300, $30 commission. Out 400 gives you $40 commission. So here is my line that represents my tabled values. Now, the equation would be y equals to mx. mx. Now, what did we multiply each time times the x values? Go back to your chart. Every time we took the sales value and multiplied it times 10%. But when we changed 10%